I once had a boyfriend who took whatever he wanted. He didn't wait for anyone else to sit down at the table to eat. He started eating his food immediately. He wasn't worried if we were at a dinner party or if it was a potluck. He would eat all of the chicken and not care that someone else didn't have enough food. He would walk ahead of me when we were going places. So, what do you think? Do you think that he was just self centered, or do you think he was a narcissist? My name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I'm a relationship expert and the founder of the Real Love Revolution. And in today's video, I'm going to be answering the question that many of you have written into me about how can you tell the difference between being self-centered and being a narcissist, because I've been doing a lot of videos about narcissism. So I decided I would help you figure it out. Now, some of you are asking for yourselves, and some of you are asking because you have someone else in your life who you believe probably is a narcissist, or you're trying to figure out if they are. So let's talk about the four major qualities that both groups may have. The first one is focus on self. Now, the boyfriend that I was talking about was an only child, and he was someone who wasn't raised in a crew the way that I was, with a lot of other people that you have to consider all the time. And he really wasn't. He was someone that, when I told him about these things, he really worked hard to change them and to be mindful. And sometimes I would remind him, but he really was just self-centered because of his upbringing. He was not a narcissist, just PS on that story. So the focus on self, listen, this is in both categories, right? So if someone is a narcissist, they have a real obsession with self, right? And if someone is self-centered, of course, that is the reason, this is exactly what we're talking about. They're talking about themselves a lot, or not being a good conversationalist. So really, this doesn't, narcissists and people who are self-centered will both have the focus on self quality. The second thing is empathy. And now this is where we're going to hit a fork in the road, right? Because someone who is self-centered still has the capability of showing empathy. So like the boyfriend I talked about from many, many years ago, when I said to him, hey, that is rude. You didn't even ask me if I wanted any of that thing that you finished all of and didn't even ask. He said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think about it. And he cared and felt bad. Like there was an actual, like a sense of remorse from that experience. If he were a narcissist, not only would he not feel bad, he'd be super pissed that I had criticized him. He's not thinking he did anything wrong, though. Narcissists are very crafty, though. And especially in the beginning, any of you who've had an experience with a narcissist, they're all love bombs and unicorns and fairies in the beginning. Everything is amazing. And they're, sweeping you off your feet and all of those things. But the lack of empathy, the lack of true empathy, I don't mean big gestures of, when they're trying to woo you, that's a completely different story. I mean actual empathy, like the ability to care about how you feel. And even if your partner acted like they were sorry, they were probably just doing that to gain points with you, and their overall behavior wouldn't change. So that's a big distinction between someone who is self-centered, right? Because self-centered people can be empathic. And narcissists may fake it for a while, but eventually they'll never make real changes. Like that actually won't happen because they can't. All right, the third thing that they'll have that could be similar is grandiosity, right? So self-centered people, you have to think about them. They crave attention from others, right? They can be, talk about themselves a lot, same as narcissist, especially if with a self-centered person, especially if they're starting to feel neglected or unimportant, they'll bring the thing all the way back to you. But they can actually also listen to others. So now again, we're hitting this fork in the road of someone who is simply self-centered actually has the capacity to listen to other people. Narcissists, they may look like they're listening, but they're not. They will only listen until they find that opportunity where they can jump back in and turn the conversation back around towards themselves and their accomplishments. And there's a real difference in the quality of doing that. So where a self-centered person is essentially saying, notice me, right? That's what they're saying. But a narcissist is saying, notice how special and wonderful I am and you're not. So that's very different. So although the grandiosity is the same, the quality of it is very different. And then the fourth thing is about breaking rules, right? So this is another fork in the road. Self-centered people have clear moral values, right? They don't cheat on their spouse. They, don't cut in line because they think they're above the line. And again, someone who's self-centered has the capacity for empathy, right? Like they have the actual capability of being empathic. Narcissists really feel incredibly special that they really think rules do not apply to them, and they can rationalize why anything that they do is okay. Whether it's cutting in line or cheating on a partner, they'll actually blame others for their actions and their choices. Like this person did this and that made me cheat on them type of a thing. So again, the breaking the rules and having a real lack of moral compass, that is very much about sheer straight up narcissism and not really about self-centeredness. So those are four things that they have in common, but then we've got the fork in the road that gives you a real sense of how it's different. So let's just say that you're watching this and this was for you. Maybe you're worried if you're a narcissist, especially if you were raised by narcissistic parents. I find that many of you have written into me saying, how can I tell if I am? So I hope that gave you an idea. And I promise you that most of the time, those of you who are worried about being narcissistic are not narcissists, because narcissists don't care. They're not watching this worrying about what's wrong with them. They're watching this pointing out how many people in their life have this, and that's not them, So I have a couple of ideas of things that you can do to become less self-centered if you found yourself in the list that I just went over, those qualities. Because you really can change that about yourself. It's just about wanting to. So if you've made it this far in the video, props to you. So the first thing is that become a better listener. This is the first thing, that if you notice that you need attention in conversations and that you're always finding a way to bring it back to yourself, or as my friend Jill would say, if you're a wait to talker, so you're not really listening, you're just waiting until you can talk again. This is something that you can actually change. So to be a good listener, right, you have to let go of everything that's on your mind and your own beliefs just for this moment in time. You can't be thinking about your next move or your next input and be a good listener. You need to create expansion. Don't just be a good listener. Be, as I like to call it, an athletic listener. When someone is talking, ask them more. Mirror them. Say, interesting. Can you tell me more about that? Create expansion for the other person. I promise you, you will learn so much about yourself in doing this. And it's so much more relaxing to not feel like you have to be doing that, to not feel like you're always working to get in there, The second thing is to put your own needs last. If you're used to dominating your relationships with your needs, maybe put your own needs last. I gave this out as an exercise for this group that I was running for people to do this online course, where if you lived in a city, you had to, and you took a subway, public transportation, instead of cramming your way to the front of that line and trying to get in first, you had to, for a week straight, be the last person on. See what it would feel like. How would your internal experience change if you stopped rushing to be the first person on the bus or on the train or whatever it is? Same thing with driving. So let's say you live somewhere where you don't have public transportation, but you have a car. Let people go in front of you. Don't drive in the fast lane. Stop passing people. Start thinking about other people instead of you, even in these small ways. And I promise you, if you start to put your needs last just for a period of time, and I'm not talking about you overfunctioning codependents, not you, because you're always putting your needs last. I'm talking about to you, if you think that you are truly self-centered. The next thing you can do is show empathy to someone else. And how do you do that? You listen, right? Like number one, you listen athletically, and then you mirror back what the person has said so that they know that you've heard them. Right? Give them a chance to express their feelings and their needs, whatever it may be. And then you can mirror that back. So it sounds like you really just need more time alone, or whatever it is that you're mirroring back. So they know that you really understand what they're saying. Having empathy and showing empathy is a skill that you, trust me, if you've been self-centered, you could really get good at it, and it will make your life so much more fulfilling, which isn't that what we want? The fourth thing I want you to think about doing is kind of giving yourself a reality check. Right? Here's the heads up. You're actually not more important than anyone else. You may be more skilled at this or that. You may be very talented. You may have, but everyone has their own things. So if you are self-centered because you're on some superiority trip, here's your friendly wake-up call. You're the same as everyone else. You, me, everyone in our human family. So that's just a way to keep you separate from other people. And really, it's a way to mask insecurity. So value being a decent human. Don't see yourself as better than other people, because the truth is you are not, my friend. All right, the next one is really think about, in your mind, how do you want people to know you? When people think of me, I want them to think of me as being kind, generous, right? Certainly knowledgeable, wise, sure. A good teacher, absolutely, right? Good hair, maybe. That would be nice too. But the truth is that it matters to me. I don't live for what people think of me, but it matters to me. And I can tell you that if you're behaving badly and if you're self-centered in your interactions with people, they know it. They remember your bad behavior. Listen, we can't always get what we want all the time, right? But there are some people, and maybe you're one of them, who's constantly trying to get your way. And I gotta say, being on the receiving end of that is annoying and exhausting. So remember that you're not functioning in a vacuum, you know? You are interacting with people in your life, and they remember how generous or stingy you are. So I would say try to be more generous if you're trying to shift this. And the last thing I want to say about this is that this is a habit. A lot of times it's just because you were raised maybe an only child, or maybe you were raised in a family that if you didn't fight for things because there were many kids or it was very chaotic, that you didn't get anything. So there's many reasons why, as an adult, you can exhibit these behaviors that are self-centered. But it's not chronic and it's not terminal, and you don't have to stay this way if you don't want to. So break the habit. I promise you it's absolutely possible to. It's all about checking in, right? Being the observer, checking in with how you're behaving, how you're responding, what language you're using in your relationships and in your interactions with regular people. I can promise you, being raised by, my mother was a waitress as I was growing up, I'm very, very dialed in to how people treat cab drivers, waitresses, anyone, everyone. Because in my heart of hearts, I'm super clear that we're all the same. And when I was younger and when I was dating, if I was ever dating someone and they treated any service people like crap, I was done with them. I was like, so you actually think you're better than my mother, basically, is what you're saying to me inside. So break the habit, because I know that you can. And if this isn't for you that you're watching this, if this is someone in your life, maybe share this video with them. And honestly, I gave you ideas, if you're a self-centered person, how you could change it. If you are a narcissist, if you have no empathy, if you think the rules don't apply to you, I think you need to get into therapy. And I doubt very seriously that you've made it to the end of this video if you're a true narcissist. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please share it in your life on social media. For those women out there, if you have not joined my Real Love Revolution tribe, it's free. Lots of gifts for you. Please do so by going to terricole.com/RLR. I hope you guys have an amazing week. And as always, take care of you.